Hey everyone, James Niggemeyer here. Thank you for tuning back into my YouTube channel. Today I want to go over colors for one of the most productive cold water baits of all time, and that is the rattle trap or lipless crankbait. Before I get right into it, if you haven't already subscribed to my channel, please hit the subscribe button. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up and drop a comment down below. So the lipless crankbait is just a phenomenal bait during some of the coldest water temperatures of the year. And that's going to obviously vary from Florida to wherever you are before it turns into hard or frozen water up north. But it's just a phenomenal bait for catching fish under the coldest temperatures you'll be faced with. And not necessarily that's the specific time when you want to throw them, but the wintertime period when you are fishing some of the colder temps that you're going to be faced with during the calendar year. That rattle trap is just phenomenal at catching bass. And so I want to share some of the better colors that I feel like you want to have. And don't get me wrong, you know, when it comes to lipless crankbait fishing, it's not just a bait that will only work during the cold water period. That's totally not the case. It's a phenomenal fish catcher year round. Sorry, the sound beneath my boat is my dog. He's chewing on something down there. So I want to give you some of the colors that I feel like are some of the more productive ones for catching bass, just to kind of, minimize the selection, so to speak. This particular bait has a special place in my heart because when I first moved to East Texas, catching bass in the wintertime wasn't the easiest thing to do, and it still represents a challenge. But I was able to kind of demystify wintertime bass fishing because everything you read is slow down. Fish as slow as you can. The metabolism of the bass is lower than it is at any other time of the year. And so the bass don't really want to chase. There's a lot of truth to all of that. But when it comes to, catching bass on a moving style bait, on a crankbait, a lipless crankbait is one of the best ways to catch them. And I learned, personal way that I could catch bass on a moving bait and I could cover water and really kind of learn some lakes that I really didn't have an understanding of and was so new to me. And this bait kind of helped me feel my way through some lakes during some of the coldest water temperatures. So the lipless crankbait, number one, I'm going to go with gold blackback. And I know gold blackback's been around forever. And right there next to chrome blueback, this has got to be one of the most fish catching colors of all time. And I really like it because if the bass are chasing bait fish of any sort, whether it's a threadfin shad or shiners or whatever type of bait fish you might have in the specific body of water, this gold blackback or even a chrome blueback just does a phenomenal job at getting bites. That tight vibration of the rattle trap and then obviously the rattles, tremendous fish catcher, elicits strikes, gets strikes from fish when sometimes they're just lethargic, but it draws those reaction strikes and gets fish to bite, again, during some of the coldest temperatures of the year. And I like the gold blackback because I feel like this is going to be a color that I use in some of the more clearer water situations and under some of the brighter skies, bright sunny days, not a lot of wind, post frontal. I like the gold blackback for catching fish in some of the watercolors that are, say, clear, but have a stain to it. Might be a little bit of a brown stain to it. Might be a green stain to it. Maybe a tea or tannic colored, like you have in a lot of the southern states, Texas, Louisiana, all the way to Florida. So whenever you have clearer water, but have a little bit of a stain, and that's what I mean, those color stains, green, brown, or black, or tannic colored, tea colored, that gold blackback works really well, especially under some of the brightest high skies or brightest sun that you might be faced with during the winter time. I would just be doing you a disservice if I didn't talk about a red colored crankbait for catching bass in the wintertime. And there's so many different ones. I've caught fish on a lot of them, but one of my favorites the last few years is definitely that red shad color. I love that red shad. Red shad's kind of got blackback with kind of these gold shoulders and a little bit of a pearl belly. Tell you a quick story. A friend of mine turned me onto this color years ago, and it was funny. We'd go fishing during the wintertime, and he'd break this bad boy out, and it didn't seem to matter where we were. It just seemed to me that he was always reeling one in on this thing. I mean, not, you know, cast after cast, but if they were going to bite that lipless crankbait, if we were in an area with fish, he could get them to eat that red shad rattle trap. And so that's quickly become one of my more favorites. It's just a fish catcher. One of the things that I've noticed about fishing a rattle trap or lipless crankbait during this wintertime period is you could really crawl that bait. You want to feel that little bit of a vibration, so you want a rod with a tip that you can feel that vibration, so you know it's running true and running straight. You know, you want it running straight. That's what I mean by straight, you know, upright. And you may even hit the bottom every now and again, and you may run it into some grass or a piece of wood, and you pop it free with a quick little jerk of the rod. But you could really slow this bait down, keeping your rod tip high if it's shallow, and really slow it down. As long as you felt that vibration, sometimes that vibration would just be so subtly subdued, but you could get that bait down to a slow, what I mean by slow, slow in the way that it would cover ground horizontally, but also keep it moving. You could really catch some fish on that rattle trap, and it was really fun to kind of figure that out during the early years. But the red shad color is a great one. And then another friend of mine, Dan Wilson, he put me on to a red colored or red crawfish with a chartreuse belly. And this has become one of my favorites as well. That's one of the fun things about fishing. You learn some things about the people you fish with and the friends that you keep. Everyone kind of brings something to the table, and you learn from those guys around you and your friends. We all share, and this is one of those colors that I don't know that I really would have thrown much, but a red craw with a chartreuse belly lipless crankbait is a fish catcher. And when I would throw this is when maybe I'm having a dark day or dark skies, not a lot of daylight, or more of a diminished, say, overcast or darker skies, maybe some wind, and maybe a little bit more stain to the water. That red craw with a chartreuse belly pattern works really well at getting you some bites. Offer the full spectrum, you know, the clearer waters with the gold black back, the brighter days, bright skies, and then something kind of for the interim, and then the crawfish chartreuse for more of the stained water and the overcast days. And that's just as a general rule of thumb. You kind of able to offer something to everything. And don't get me wrong, there's so many more awesome colors that I feel like you could use. But you know, you have different colors and color schemes, natural craws for some of maybe your highland reservoirs. But you know, gold black back, a crawfish or red colored, and then a red colored or red craw colored with a chartreuse belly. Those are some of the colors that I feel like you'd want to have in the boat. You might experiment with some other hues, but those are ones that I feel like you definitely want to check out. You want to make sure that you have those in the boat when you're heading out on the water during the winter time. I know that some guys are saying, well, throwing a lipless crankbait already, you know, here we are. It's not even quite pre-spawn, and I think that's probably one of the most popular times to throw your rattle traps. And I get it. It is. It's probably one of the best times of the year to throw it. Pre-spawn, going towards the spawn, you know, or late winter coming into the pre-spawn. But a late great friend of mine, Mark Pack, when I moved here from California, he said, James, after Christmas, you need to break out your rattle traps. That's when it's time to throw a lipless crankbait. Something about that period of the year, or that calendar of the year, that kind of is the time frame when lipless crankbaits start to be pretty good. And honestly, if you really think about it, you don't really have to put them away. You fish them straight through the fall. But I feel like he was talking about the beginning of the pre-spawn, at least for us here in East Texas, Northeast Texas. But that's it for now, guys. 3 colors, a few color options that I feel like you've got to have for fishing a lipless crankbait. Thanks for watching, and until next time, good fishing.